Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. Yet another group of repeat visitors to Barbados has been honored for making Barbados their destination of choice. And Prime Minister Frundle Stewart says all efforts to build the island's tourism industry need to continue. He was speaking at the reception for repeat guests at Ilaro Court. Here's Lisa Broom.
When combined, the top 5 visitors to the island share 457 trips to Barbados. They are Paul Harrimer, Don Cliff, Norman and Susan Bridges, John and Joanne Buchanan, and Scarlett Morades. Apart from the effort of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority and the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., Prime Minister Frundle Stewart says citizens have also made a difference.
While they acknowledge the importance of the sun, sea and sand of which the Master of Ceremonies spoke, and while they acknowledge the importance of attractive and commodious hotel plant and high qualities of service in our hotels, invariably they will say that what keeps them coming most of all is the charm and the hospitality of the people of Barbados.
Scarlett Morades, who has been here 135 times, agrees Barbadians are very welcoming. She told us what else she likes about the country.
The exceptional breeze, the seawater, which I really believe it can heal the soul, mind and body. And the fact that every morning you get up with the song of the birds and this beautiful sunshine.
For Canadians Susan Bridges and her friend Linda Murphy, the friendliness of locals is a major factor.
Just to get away from the Canadian cold weather. The warmth, the people, the friendliness.
There are so many places in the world, so many beautiful islands that have gorgeous beaches, have sun, have sand. But Barbados is so special because of its people, the warmth of the people, and also I think because of all the tremendous other things that there are to do in Barbados. It's not just the beach. There are a million other things to do.
The reception is an annual event to honor frequent visitors to Barbados. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
Thanks, Lisa. Some public servants have been taken to task for putting their aim of securing the interests of their favorite politician above the well-being of the country. Commerce Minister Donville Innes says this has to stop if Barbados is to move forward. He was speaking on Day 4 of the National Week of Excellence hosted by the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados.
When we frustrate legitimate customers and investors, we are jeopardizing our own future and that of our children. We must genuinely do our work for the love of country and not just self. Too often, and may sound a little strange, but too often we worry about getting our politicians in and out of office, and too little time on safeguarding the future of the nation. We politicians will come and go, hopefully I will stay, but our nation, Barbados, must simply grow.
Mr. Innes also wants clarity and consistency in policies across departments.
Far too often, looking all through the lines of those who are before us, the rules seem to be determined by the officer on duty today. This breeds confusion and frustration among our customers, both at the individual and the corporate level. I also firmly believe that effective time management is critical for a modern public service. The various sectors in our economy all need to be moving at the same pace, and that cannot be a slow pace.
As Barbados makes a big push for increased productivity, the head of the National Initiative for Service Excellence is warning that policymakers can't just rely on the traditional indicators. Kim Tudor says the method of production has changed, and so its method of assessment has to as well. Lisa Broom tells us more.
Ms. Tudor tells CBC News productivity was defined by looking at the Industrial Revolution and measuring, for instance, how many widgets were made and how fast that could be done. Today's economy, though, is knowledge and innovation driven.
So we require employees who are engaged as opposed to who can do it faster. And you come up with one idea, Facebook, Snapchat, you can change the world. So that's really what it is about. And how do we get our employees more engaged is the key thing. If they're not more engaged in a knowledge economy and an innovation economy, you're not going to see more productivity.
The NICE head says when the concept of employee engagement was introduced about 5 years ago, the response was mixed. But two of the companies that responded positively, Wabisco and Harris Paints, saw benefits.
You've seen those organizations take off. Wabisco has gone on to win several national awards. Harris Paints made, it's supposed to be much more now, more than 100 million Barbados dollars, 100 million from one product that they had innovated when they did the 100 improvements in 100 days. So you're seeing the organizations who have embraced the whole notion of employee engagement and have unleashed the talent and the creativity of the employees flourish.
Ms. Tudor says NICE is supporting the discussion on productivity through its employee engagement surveys done in 2011 and 2016. And although the latest findings have not been published yet, she says the early results are interesting.
The results tend to be a bit mixed. I think that the state of the economy and the uncertainty is showing up in the results. So you'll see some organizations and some sectors moving ahead because they may have a bit more stability, and then you'll see other sectors actually have increased levels of disengagement.
2017 has been designated the Year of Productivity in Barbados. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
A call tonight for a greater police presence at local football games. The suggestion comes from residents of the Belfield community in the wake of last evening's shooting incident at a football match there. Here's Lisa Lord.
What was expected to be a night of good competitive football at Belfield almost turned into a tragic encounter when shots were fired. During the incident, two male footballers, 16-year-old Kemar Holligan and 35-year-old Jason White, were injured. Understandably in fear, one resident spoke to us off camera.
I think you could issue about 2 policemen to each pastor, these open-air pastors that just have a certain amount of games per week. You could issue about 2 or 3 policemen around the field. It might still change a fellow mind from bringing the gun to the football because they have police presence, so they might change their mind from bringing the gun to football.
Others, however, still believe the community is safe, but are concerned that last night's incident could have escalated into something more serious.
Last night, I think it was out of proportion because I have a lot of kids out here in the park, and what I heard, the guy was just like shooting wild. I don't know what he was thinking along that line, but if he have kids, he should also think about his kids as well.
He got innocent people, may not be involved in nothing, trying to run from the situation and then they get caught up, bump, crossfire. We heard about innocent people, you know what I mean?
On a day, you just come here, line, play hearts, all of us, including the marshal. We got school teachers out here, we got 2 policemen that play hearts out here. So we just lie and play hearts during the day.
Now, Member of Parliament for the area, James Paul, is saddened by the latest spate of gunfire.
We cannot condone the behavior of recklessness. We live in a very dense community in Belfield. And the fact that it's happened and nothing worse has gone on, I think is good, okay? But we do not know what could have happened in other circumstances, and we should not play this down.
He has also refuted suggestions that the violence is due to several angry young men.
Well, he said that, we have a lot of angry young men nowadays. We have always had angry young men in our society, and the reason for this violence cannot be attributed to any angry young men in terms of that, and it is not a feature that is unique. But what has been good for our society in the past is that we have had differences, but we have managed them differently without the type of violence that has occurred here last night.
The parliamentary representative will also be giving his support to the team and the families affected. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
And police are probing another shooting. This one occurred at Durance Village, St. James this afternoon. Police Force Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Roland Cobbler confirmed that 18-year-old Kemal Haynes of Holders Hill, St. James received 3 gunshot injuries to his body. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by private transportation. His condition is listed as serious but stable. Haynes was liming on the block with a friend when he was approached by a group of men who opened fire on him. Minister of Industry and MP for St. James South, Donald Innes, is of the view that staggered working hours can assist in reducing traffic. Under staggered hours schemes, workers or groups of workers start and finish work at slightly different times.
There's no need, quite frankly, for everyone to get to work, all offices to open at 8 or 8:30. And there really is no need for private and public sector offices to all be closing at 4:30. And secondly, of course, it may not be significant to address the transportation issues, but perhaps we can do a lot more online and reduce the need for a lot of us to be on the road. One asks the question, why is it during the summer holidays in particular, you can get anywhere in 5 minutes that would normally take you 45 minutes? I don't know why. It is, but perhaps someone can give an answer and then that can provide the solution therein.
Following proposals for taller mixed-use buildings in Warrens, Mr. Innes says the time is ripe for wider consultation on high-rise buildings.
Some people argue that we should not go more than 8 floors. Perhaps Town Country Planner can start to indicate to us what they will consider over the next 5 to 10 years to be reasonable heights for buildings. Are we going to go 20-story buildings? Because Barbadians will have concerns perhaps about the changing landscape in that scene.
The especially high winds in recent days caused some disruption for Chalky Mount St. Andrew residents. Some of them were left without power after 2 electrical poles were damaged as a result of the gusty winds last night. However, crews from the Barbados Light and Power Company responded to the area overnight and were able to restore power to some of the residents by 3 this morning. They were eventually able to restore electricity to all of the residents by just after 3 this afternoon. Light and Power officials said the outage was caused when a tree in Chalky Mount fell across a high-tension line, breaking 2 poles just after 11:30 p.m. They said crews worked throughout the night and day to safely plant new poles and transfer the lines to restore power. The BLNP apologized for the inconvenience caused during the outage period and thanked residents for their patience. All right, we'll take a short break here and come back with more news.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
This is Seth at Selberville, musician and comedian.
Hi, I'm Nadia Phillips, comedian and entertainer. The Barbados Vagrants and Homeless Society is doing a great thing and we need your help as well, Barbados.
Come together as one and give to the Barbados Vagrants and Homeless Society by simply donating anything you got. Trust me, families, help the homeless.
Fish is a popular meal for some during the Lenten season. And staying true to tradition, fisherfolk are ensuring everything is in place to meet the demand, while some Barbadians have been seeking to beat the last-minute rush.
Where's for who? What shark got two? Who want me come, don't want me still come? Something for everybody. They want money in the car, not fish in the box.
That's the call for fish. And while some shoppers have been heeding it to beat the rush, others are still sticking to their regular shopping routine. Some of the fisherfolk have been doing well and expect to do better as the countdown continues.
So far being the first, they have not seen any increase, but during the Lenten season, most people eat only fish. So maybe tomorrow or Friday, Saturday, you may or may not see an increase.
Others, however, have not been faring so well as stocks are down and prices are up.
No flying fish at all in the island.
You gotta go Trinidad for them. But right now we just haul fish pots on Saturdays. You know, I get a couple lobsters and sea cats. That's it.
Well, for right now, the billfish and the marlin is kind of scarce, but we're seeing a little flying fish lifting their heads up.
Right now, fish is a bit high. Price is a bit high. Right now, dolphin is at $8 a pound. You will get tuna and swordfish at $8.50. Flying fish is $15 a package. Right now, whole flying fish selling at $70 a 100.
Barbadians, meantime, have been telling us about their favorite types of fish.
Marlin, as usual, that's my favorite fish. Easter shopping.
This is my friend Janice, and we usually buy fish from her every week.
The demand for fish is expected to increase even further in the coming weeks as Easter approaches.
As Warrens further develops, a visiting urban designer believes going forward, the addition of high-rise housing and other housing projects could be added to the area. Tyler Baker, who is pushing the concept of mixed-use development, shared the view during his presentation at a town hall meeting at Queen's College on the physical development plan.
A parcel might contain some housing in a higher format, for example, an apartment. And at the first floor at grade, there might be something like retail and shops and services. So it's really providing a more integrated mix of things. We also see Warrens as really an important place for a variety of housing types. Anna mentioned the changing demographics. We would see in Warrens an appropriate place for seniors housing, particularly on the south side, which is related to the neighborhoods to the south. And also all of the services that are currently in Warrens.
Well, former MP for the city of Bridgetown, Dame Billy Miller, expressed concern at the number of business proposals in the South Coast and their impact on the beaches and coral reefs. She also wants attention placed on Highway 1 in the physical development plan. Dame Billy says she has ideas where an intersection can be made.
Between the bottom of University Hill, Black Rock, that's where I grew up, down to Holders Hill. If there's a cloudburst like we had a few months ago, in which I was caught, if there is a bad accident, there is no access going forward, going backward, or up to join the Ronmap corridor. And I do hope that's going to be taken into consideration.
Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, is assuring farmers their concerns about predial larceny have been heard. Mr. Paul made the comment on the sidelines of a presentation of the hydrophonic system to the Allerton Primary School. He disclosed that some urban schools in the 4-H program had been affected by predial larceny. However, he says despite appearances that nothing is happening, several initiatives to deter criminal activity are ongoing. In addition, he says legislation allowing for stronger penalties should be finalized this year.
The ministry is coming with a new piece of legislation to help and to assist in terms of bringing a better structure to the process of the cultivation of plants in this country. Okay, that legislation is coming on very soon, and I'm hoping that that in itself will help to loosen the hands of the lawmakers in terms of what they can apply or what they cannot apply.
Chairman of the 4-H Foundation, Osman Harewood, invited the public to lend their assistance to the Foundation's programs. He says their focus is showing the youth that agriculture is economically viable.
That is the level that we want to get our youngsters at. When they leave school, I'm referring to secondary school, that they could actually use the skills that they would have been taught to expand their own skills and to establish an income generating for themselves. Then they become young entrepreneurs, in so to speak. So that's what we're looking at.
For the next 3 nights, they will captivate the audience of the Frank Colomer Hall with their magical stage performances. Yesterday, the cast of the Broadway to Barbados show freely gave up their downtime to entertain some of the island's elderly and disabled community. Organizer Ann Shepard says the cast received an invitation from chairman of the Broadway to Barbados Charitable Trust, Robert Bork, some years ago.
He said, why wouldn't you bring some of the residents? And I said, our youngest is probably 80. So it would be nice if you could get, the mountain to Mohammed instead. And he did. He brought the show to the home. And ever since then, which is probably 15 years now, except for the period when they didn't come, they've been doing this show for us. And it expanded from just senior citizens to include the differently abled, and they absolutely love it.
In the past, the show was held at the Barbados Yacht Club, but the decision was made to move it to the Derek Smith School this year to allow the almost 150 students to attend. Producer of the Broadway to Barbados show, Newberg, says it's a favorite on the cast's calendar each year.
We get to do a show dedicated just to the disabled children and the elderly here on the island of Barbados. People who would never get a chance to come to Frank Colomer Hall. We've been doing this for years. And when we walk into the hall, you feel the love, you feel the spirit, you see how much they want this. And our actors and performers, they melt. They melt at the experience of being able to come inland and perform. It's magic.
A local charity is encouraging Barbadians to dine out during the month of March. Charity Chicks Barbados has launched an initiative called Food for Change, which is geared at providing meals for those in need. Trustee of the Charity Chicks, Dr. Madhuvanti Murphy, says fellow trustee Kelly Gibson came up with the idea after they both received several requests for assistance with groceries. She explains that people can make donations when they dine at any of the 35 participating restaurants.
At the fine dining restaurants, when you dine, you can, as we say, dine and donate. Voluntary $2 will be added to your table's bill. And we're hoping that people will opt for more than the $2 to give. And then for the fast casual restaurants, they have donation boxes at their cash stations because we realize that they get quite a lot of traffic, from the same people every day. We don't want to add something onto their bills every single time. So they can opt to give their change or their spare change to the donation boxes.
The now 7-year charity is hoping to build on the success of the Tickled Pink campaign, which raised $20,000 for the Gift Foundation. Dr. Murphy further explains that community nurses at polyclinics will identify the people who will benefit from the proceeds of Food for Change. She also says the project has garnered the support of the Ministry of Health.
We don't want it to just be about giving food, but giving healthy, nutritious food. That's really important. We actually spoke to the Ministry of Health when we decided to do this, and they were on board with us saying, it's not just going to be, whatever's the cheapest things we can find. It's really about encouraging people to eat healthy, nutritious meals as well.
For more information, you can visit the Charity Chicks Barbados page on Facebook or Instagram or their website www.food4changebb.com. That's food, the number 4changebb.com. A cultural practitioner wants to recycle some of the features from Old Barbados. Ilome Motley is set to deliver a lecture shortly at Solidarity House on how the country could benefit from such a move. But he took a few minutes to chat with our Sharika Griffith on some of the topics which will bring focus to Barbados.
I am here with former director of the NCF, Ilome Motley. Ilome, thank you for joining us. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
So, you've made calls in the past for Barbados to push ways in which it's unique. Can you elaborate a bit on that for us?
Of course. Radio, television, movies only came to Barbados in the 20th century, in the 1910s, 1920s. So if I tell you, look at that gorilla front, and you don't know what it looked like, Okay? Your imagination can tell you it had 2 heads, 5 feet, 8 tails. It could be anything. Right? You understand what I'm saying? So much of what took place was left to the imagination of people. So the question is, how do we build a creativity of solutions, creative set of solutions around our own imagination of what we have? And I'm going to talk and expand and show how the carrots, the bread carrots, the donkey carrots, the chattel house example. Yesterday I had a meeting, yesterday or the day before, I had a meeting with a very senior executive. And he was saying to me that at Apes Hill, there, nice, beautiful design bungalows that tourists come and stay in. And there's a little chattel house that is used by staff probably to change and administrating out of wood. And all of them keep asking, do you have any of these houses anywhere around that we can stay in and all that? And this is the point, because it's so unique for what they see coming from the United States or coming from Canada or wherever they're coming from, that how come we don't have a hotel consisting of chattel houses in almost like a village that they can stay in? Because if we're making the decision, we are still looking down on ourselves that is infra-dig, that is not acceptable. I am saying it is acceptable. And everything that you've seen me do in the last 50 years was to raise the level of consciousness of the things and the creativity that we can produce. And if we are going to get into a hospitality industry seriously and not a tourist industry, to do hospitality, it involves a certain self-confidence about yourself, about your own contribution. And that self-confidence can only come by understanding how we get where we are today. And that shift from understanding what service is as opposed to what servitude. And we have inherited the concept that it is mostly servitude to be in a hospitality industry, which we used to call and should abandon calling a tourist industry. And my point I'm making overall, I will demonstrate that and how the benefits of it can be to Barbados as we are going forward in the next 50 years.
Well, after the break, we'll take a look at stories making headlines across our region.